and welcome to Fandom Access. Today is March 12th. I'm your co-host, Karen. I am missing two co-hosts tonight. Jamie's sick. She's not going to be here tonight. She's not really feeling well. And AJ is, he'll be along shortly, I guess. Don't know what's up with him. I just texted him. He'll be here in a sec. So tonight on our show, we are scheduled to talk about The Ones Who Live. Jamie's not here to talk about it with me, so I will give her I'll give the little update myself, I guess, and we'll move on to Constellation. We've also got Resident Alien on tap tonight, and we're going to talk about Constellation, which had a really big episode this week. I'm going to ramble on here for a couple more minutes until my co-host gets here. I might have to actually give him a ring. Maybe you all would like to listen to that while I give him a call. Because I can do this for a little while, but I can't do this for half an hour. His phone is ringing. Let's see if he answers it. I think I'll keep him off the speakerphone, though. I think I live in a state where it's illegal to put him on the air without telling him. I got a ring going. No AJ. All right, well, let me just jump in and talk a little bit about my impressions of what happened this week on The Ones Who Live. Let me see if I can I have nobody here to help me. I'm all by myself. I've never done it before, trying to work the pictures, do the whole thing at the same time. This was the third episode of The Ones Who Live. It's called Bye because the first three episodes, right? We all caught that how it was years, then gone, then bye. Named after the first episode of Walking Dead was Days Gone By, right? So this is an episode where Rick and Michonne are they're together in, I guess that's Philadelphia, right? The city where the CMR is. I love this episode. When I went, I didn't love the episode. I love the press for this episode. When I went online to download some of the press photos that are available, pretty much everything for this episode was a headshot. And almost all the photos are pictures of Michonne looking at Rick like this. Sometimes she's looking at him like this. Every shot, every press shot that's available seems to be Michonne being pissed off at Rick because from her perspective, Rick has lost his mind. I love looking at Denai Guerrera's "What the Hell, Rick" face. I see someone coming in. It's AJ. Are you there? Are you there? I see him. Hello? He's there. He's not talking. We'll get him on in a second. I'm so happy to see you, AJ. If I could only hear your lovely voice. Oh, we're getting nothing. All right, I'll just keep talking till he's ready to speak to us. Or you could chat with me in the chat, AJ, to tell me why I can't hear from you. Anyway, I'm just going to keep talking Walking Dead till you get through. I feel like this episode was, I don't know how people feel about. I didn't read any comments on the internet this week. I don't know how people are really feeling about Rick and Michonne. But this is kind of like Rick has lost his, this is not the Rick that Michonne thought she was looking for, right? This Rick is he's kind of defeated, right? He's really, he's got, unfortunately, this also is a great look. This is what Jadis is like. She's got this smug little look on her face. Jadis seems to have Rick right where she wants him. I don't know how I feel about this writing. I feel like how many shows have we seen a character say, oh, if anything should happen to me, I've got a file written and it will be automatically given to the authorities and you're doomed. It seems like a trope that I've seen in many, every journalist in peril has a file. Every whistleblower has this file that in the event of my demise will automatically be sent. I don't love that they've maybe chosen that storytelling trope, but it's the only way it makes sense that Jadis has something over Rick's head, right? Why he doesn't just kill her. because he really should kill her. I mean, I wish he would have killed her like 10 years ago when he met her in the garbage dump. I hate this character so much. I mean, nothing against the actress who plays her, who is named Polly. Oh, it'll come to me in a second. Her name is Pollyanna McIntosh. No, you know, I mean, she's doing a fine job, but I just hate this character so much. So she's like, "Oh, Rick, I've got a file already, and you know, Alexandria will be destroyed." Again, yeah, don't really love it. And this is, of course, another great close-up. This is like Rick's reaction. He's actually not talking to her in that scene, right? But this is how Rick is feeling throughout the entire episode, in our entire episode of close-ups. I did like the flashback where we see Jadis has the best hair she ever has had or will have in the entire history of we have a spammer in the chat. Please ignore that person. If I knew how to kick them out, I would. Sorry about that. Got a little distracted. There have been some commenters online on other people's sites who are wondering if Rick and Jadis could have had some sort of romantic interlude during the years that he's been missing. In this scene, she really comes on as his friend, right? She comes on as like, AJ's still trying to connect. You guys see him? Jadis comes on as like someone who's like, you know, I did you a favor getting you in here. I saved your life. Rick's like, what are you talking about? I can't leave. And she's like, well, I could have left you to die in the river. It is clear that she traded Rick for a position of authority. His friend Thorne, this show is all about people trying to like get into a position of authority. Here he is again. Can you hear me now? I know you can hear me, AJ. Can I hear you?
Yeah.
Woohoo! Hi, AJ. Let me pause there on The Walking Dead for a minute.
Oh, my God. Apologies for being late. So Artie's rehearsal for the play got over at 9 o'clock. I was supposed to pick them up. They kept them till 9:50.
Wow. That better be a damn good play he's going to be in.
I was a little annoyed. And then just now, somehow the computer microphone was muted.
Oh.
And I couldn't get it to unmute.
You're like me at work. That's okay. Remember when my camera was broken last week and I couldn't I was telling you guys I couldn't go on camera at all even if I wanted to. Turns out my laptop has this little built-in slider across the camera that I didn't even know existed. And when I called the IT department, they had to walk me through feeling really stupid about having this built-in slider I didn't know about. So we're all of us not the greatest tech people on this show.
It's bad luck for me tonight.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about this high school play where they practice more than people on Broadway. Sorry, rehearse. What do I know? Rehearse. So, and this was a good exercise in me talking for 8 straight minutes with no co-host. And
it's piece of cake. I've done it before.
I know you're better at it than I am. You're much better at it than I am. So I was just in the middle of talking about the Walking Dead franchise. I don't know if you saw any of these great photos that I showed. This is a whole episode of Michonne being like, Rick, have you lost your damn mind?
Isn't that every episode?
Well, you know, as I was saying to our viewers, listeners, and viewers out there, Jadis really has Rick where she wants him in this scene. And you might have heard me saying this. She pulled like the standard, like, this is like a standard thing on so many shows. She's like, I have a file with all of your details. And if anything should happen to me, it will automatically be sent to the general and you will be doomed.
Yeah, pretty much every show.
And I will make sure that everyone in Alexandria gets annihilated. And Michonne's not having any of it. Michonne doesn't know that. Hang on a second. Sorry, Michonne doesn't know that because Rick hasn't told her that. Rick's just like, you have to get out. It's not safe. This is the only way. You know, typical Walking Dead character. They don't really talk to each other and tell each other the important stuff. By the way, Michonne seems still have not told Rick that he has a son. All that was going on. They did build up to some pretty good action scenes at the end. For those of you who watched it, I don't know if other people agree. There's this scene where, okay, again, we have to suspend our disbelief because Rick and Michonne and a bunch of other soldiers take a helicopter across the country from Philadelphia to the Cascades, which are in like the Pacific Northwest. And they get there in like a day because there's so much fuel, so many fuel depots. And they go out there to like they're clearing some walkers out to build a forward operating base. Those of us who have watched some of the other spinoffs know it's probably so they can annihilate Portland. But there's some cool battle scenes where they've got some cool equipment, and Rick and Michonne are, they're supposed to pretend they don't know each other. But for all the people out there, all the fans who have been waiting for this moment, we did get a big old smooch, which I thought I uploaded the photo of, but maybe I was so disgusted that I didn't get around to it somehow. I know I downloaded that photo to show here. I mean, we talked about this last week that I just felt like I never really bought into the Rick and Michonne romance, and it's done so much better in this show that I can really kind of see how those two are in love and how they're connected and all. I'm loading this picture while we speak because I'm showing it, damn it. But it was pretty nice. It was like, I'm not sure if you're supposed to not know each other and you're afraid your boss might kill Michonne, then you shouldn't stop in the middle of a giant battle to kiss behind a tree. But I guess they can't control themselves after being apart for so long. It was kind of cute. So, that was episode 3. We're halfway through. At the end of the episode, AJ, it was insane. At the end of the episode, Rick is like, Michonne, I'm getting rid of you. You have to leave. There's no way for us to be together. It's over. It's a theme from an earlier episode where in last week's episode, Michonne's friend said to her, you can give up and still, you can stop looking and go home, and it's not giving up. And I felt like maybe that's a little like Rick is saying, I'm sending her home. It's a little, I don't know. He's also doing a little bit of that. He tries to trick her into leaving. It's a little bit of that. You know how when someone is putting their girlfriend in danger, they pretend they say they hate her and break up with her so she'll go away and won't be in danger anymore. It's like one of those things going on, hurting you to save you kind of thing. And so he's like, whatever, Michonne, get in this helicopter. We're going back. Someone's going to fly us back. And they're in the helicopter, and Michonne can think of no other way to get Rick to leave the CRM. So she grabs him and jumps out the door of the helicopter.
That's fun.
And that's like the cliffhanger. It's not really cliffhanger because we know they're going to survive, right?
Well, yeah.
It's a cliffhanger because Jade has told Rick, if you try to escape, I'll wipe out everybody you love, right? So that's the cliffhanger, really. And it's Rick's fault, right? Rick didn't give Michonne a key piece of information that if we escape, they'll kill our children. He doesn't tell her that, and so she doesn't understand why he won't escape. And so Rick's in a pickle now, but he kind of caused it because if you just talk to your wife, maybe you can make a better decision together, right?
Right.
So that's where we are with that. I kind of you can hear me. I'm complaining a lot less than I usually do about Walking Dead shows, right? And I'm much more succinct. This show moves. Stuff happens, and
it's better than 26 episodes.
Move on. I know, right? Yeah. So we can Jamie back next week, and we might do a little more detailed discussion of what happens next week. And where this might be leading in terms of the larger Walking Dead universe, and if it's going to tie into other shows or whatever. But that's where we are with that one. So, I'm so glad you're here, AJ. I'm so glad you're back. I can never do a show by myself. I don't have people do shows by themselves. Those are very talented people out there doing shows by themselves. They probably write a script, and they probably don't just get on here and talk like I do. This is a more stream of
When
consciousness
when
operation.
when I add,
Up your microphone is in your mouth.
my microphone's nowhere near my mouth.
That's why I can't hear you.
But it's never near my mouth.
Oh, well, it's better now.
What I was saying was when I get stuck by myself for a bit, I try to be quick on my feet. There's never a script.
Yeah. I'd never make it in like stand up, or if I got heckled, I would not know what to say. I'd be like, I would not be like quick like Jimmy Kimmel on the Oscars whipping out a tweet to read with my 2 extra minutes I got to fill of time. By the way, did you watch the Oscars?
No, I could care less.
I watched it. It was a pretty middle of the road, kind of boring show this year. I mean, it was all right. It didn't really like have the highs were not that high, the lows were not that low. One of my favorite movies of the year, Godzilla -1, won Best Special Effects, which remember our conversation about how that movie only cost $15 million to make? And it beat out like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is probably like a $200 million movie.
Well, listen, we watched a $300 million TV show.
Oh, wait, can't hear you. You're fading out.
What's going on?
You're fading out.
Can you hear me now?
You sound awesome now.
I swear to God, I moved like 2 centimeters. And apparently that makes it better, so I can't hear me. The computer, maybe that'll help. We watched a $300 million TV show. Well, yeah.
So. yeah, and that didn't look as good as Godzilla -1. Although that show looked a lot better than the words coming out of the actors' mouths, right? The writing was the real problem on that show. I mean, what's it called? The Rings of Power. That's a good-looking show. It's just
I wasn't talking about the Rings of Power. I was talking about the Citadel.
Oh, Citadel! Oh my God, yeah. That show didn't even. There's no reason why that should cost that much. There's not even right.
We decided $200 million just went to the Russos.
Yeah, that's right. The Russo brothers got like $180 million, and then they spent only 120 on their episodes. So yeah, that was the only kind of like genre news for me. I mean, Best Picture was Poor Things, which I haven't seen. It's supposed to have good costuming and stuff. And then
Artie saw Poor Things. He loved it.
Oh no, it didn't get Best Picture. It got Best Actress. Emma Stone got Best Actress. Artie liked it.
Yeah, he said it was really good.
Yeah, well, she's naked a lot, right?
That's not why though.
And Oppenheimer got Best Picture, which like that's not science fiction. That's scary science.
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched almost all of it actually. I only flicked away from it a few times. Yeah, there's not any like huge news out of it. So, before we go on to do our next show, I had the chance to do interviews with some of the crew, some of the cast of Star Trek Discovery over the weekend. They did the show is on at end of March or April 4th, I think it premieres, right? Maybe it's April. I'm going to Google that up. I have it in my email. I don't know why I don't know the date offhand. But our interviews are embargoed at least until March 28th, so they won't be up yet. But I had the chance to do some interview panels along with I talked to Sonequa Martin. I spoke Martin Green, that's her name. I spoke to Sonequa. I spoke to Mary Wiseman, who plays Tilly. I talked to Wilson Cruz, who plays Dr. Hugh. I spoke to Blue Del Barrio, plays Adira. David Ajala, who plays Booker, was on. So we talked to almost everyone except Anthony Rapp, actually. And we have some interviews, and they'll be getting together and going up in the coming weeks. I did talk about some episode specific stuff, so we're going to have to hold some of them until, like, everything I talked to Sonequa Martin Green about happens in episode 4, so we'll probably have to hold that interview until April, but Jamie will have them getting posted slowly over the next few weeks.
Very cool.
Show to come. Yeah, it was fun. It was weird doing interviews on Sunday. I don't know why it was on a Sunday, but it was great. Everybody was in a good mood. Everybody was so excited. It was really fun talking to them all.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know what else Jamie has in the hopper. That's the big thing that I know about.
Yeah, well, we'll find out next week what she's got cooking.
Yep. When she's feeling better. So, all right. Want to jump into some...
Which one do you want to do?
Well, the pictures are posted in the order that Constellation is next.
Okay. That works for me.
So let's do some Constellation. I don't know. I feel like in some ways this episode was maybe not as good as the few that preceded it, but maybe that's because we already figured some of this out. On the other hand, I feel like this episode was good because it gave Jo some pieces of information that she didn't have yet, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you know, it kind of answered some questions. Well, not really answered them. Kind of. I mean, I guess in a way, it kind of answered some questions. Like, Bud and Henry know about each other, so that answered that one.
Yeah.
Talking to each other through the mirror. I think part of the reason it might feel like not as much because by getting some answers, there's less mystery.
Yeah.
We kind of have had no idea other than our theories what's going on, and those theories are coming to fruition. But then we get some new stuff like the ghost tapes, and the closer they are to that thing, the clearer they are to hear. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Magnus, I was wrong. I assumed he was dead. He is not. He just has a big boo-boo on his head.
I assumed he was dead. I think everybody assumed he was dead. I think you were supposed
You're probably supposed to.
Right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to think he's dead. He was just knocked out and barely hurt. And then he wakes up and faces the humiliation. On the right side of this picture, that's the back of Frederick's head, right? Like he wakes up and his wife has run off and he has to deal with Frederick, the guy she cheated on him with.
To be fair, he called Frederick.
Okay. All right. You're right. He did, didn't he? Yeah. He called Frederick because he's like, I don't know what to do about her. Frederick's her boss, right?
Yeah.
And Frederick, I mean, he's really a jerk. There's that part of this when like they have Jo on the phone and he's like, give me the phone now or I'll fire her. Or he says like, whatever he says, get her back. I'm going to fire her right now. What? Can't fire you. I mean, you need to, what? It's too easy to fire people in Germany. If the guy you slept with can fire you because you won't come to the phone.
Yeah.
Because your husband won't give him the phone. But he's alive. Which I guess I mean everything we've seen up to this led you to believe that he could be dead and it wouldn't matter, right? But these two are just on the run. This is the shot where they show up at the ghost tape observatory, whatever that place is called, the Danish science place, the fake Danish science observatory, which is just kind of two kooks that got fired like 30 years ago for being conspiracy kooks, right?
But they weren't kooks because the tapes were real.
They're not kooks, although like that part where they were like, you have to train your mind to hear it. Like these tapes sound like static, but if you train your mind, and I was kind of like, oh, are they crazy? Could Jo be crazy after all? Because like you can make yourself hear anything in static, right? Isn't this like, you know, but it turns out, but like, I don't know if you have to, like, she also said, like, we have to go to a liminal space, right? Like, she takes them 5 miles out in the boat, and there's no pictures of these people. I wish there were photos. but Apple didn't make them available. We have to go to this place, this liminal space, which she's basically, not in these words, but as I understood it, AJ, she said something like, it's a place where the universes are thin and they're almost like bleeding together, kind of.
Yep.
Right? So she takes them out there. Alice is like that kid she's got like the same like freaked out expression and all these. I don't even know if they're the same kid because they're twins that play this kid.
Yeah.
Right? She's very like, oh no, very worried.
Do you blame her though?
No, like it's kind of inappropriate for her to be dragging this kid around like this, right? I mean,
yeah, a little bit. But on the flip side, it is kind of a good thing because, especially now that she knows Alice has been experiencing some things too, which I'm still confused by why Alice is experiencing stuff. But
I have a new theory about why Alice is experiencing it. It's a very like thin theory that will not hold up. But when the thing, like when Paul was doing the experiment, right? And Alice was on the iPad watching it along with Joe. Could it be that she saw it? And that, I mean, that's kind of thin, right? That's getting into the realm of more like,
you know what? It's getting it's as good a theory as any.
Well, thank you, because there's no reason why she should be affected, right? Because
unless I can't remember in the episode when she gets home, and Henry opens it up and tries to duplicate it down on Earth. Is Alice anywhere near it?
I don't know. Like, I feel like, like when they fetched Joe from the space capsule and everyone was like riding around together in like helicopters is the first time it happened, right? And Joe alone in the helicopter there for a minute. Or
so was Alice, though.
Joe and Alice are alone, right? Alice are alone. But like Magnus was in like wherever the thing physically was, Magnus was just as close to it.
Okay.
Right.
I couldn't remember.
So it doesn't affect him, and it's not from being around Joe because Magnus is around Joe as much as Alice is, right? So my theory is like somehow watching it on the iPad, like watching it, like Joe watched it, Paul watched it, Alice watched it. Nobody else.
Not a bad theory.
Nobody else watched it.
Yeah. No, not a bad theory.
No,
Henry. Might not be right, but it's a good theory for what we've got. That's probably the best theory going.
All right, until it gets knocked out next week, right? And Henry, I mean, that's a whole different thing with Henry and Ben, but Henry has seen it since it came back, right? Henry activated and he saw it happen back on Earth, and nobody believes him. So they're the only people that we know have actually seen it.
But you know what the thing is? But you know, who knows? That thing might not even have anything to do with anything because this has been this happened when he went into space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's known about Bud for a long time. Henry and Bud have known about each other for a long time to the point where Henry says to Bud, "You stop taking your pills." And wherever Bud is, he's planning on coming over. You know, he made him pee his pants.
Well, I thought he said that because Bud looks like shit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he looks like, he looks like shit, but he's like a huge alcoholic, obviously. Like drinking all the time. God knows, but you know, his head, like I can tell them apart, not just with the clothes, but his head is all like, I don't know, sunburn and scab. Splotchy, right? Like he does not look good at all. So you can kind of tell them apart that way.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe just by looking at him, you know, he's not taking his pills. I don't know. That's what I thought, but maybe
that's why he looks like hell because he stopped taking his pills.
Yeah, or maybe the fact that not taking the pills is making Bud able to like contact Henry more readily.
Could be. because they are antipsychotics. So
yeah, like see how Henry's head is very nice, and Bud's head is
no,
like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Much more red.
Yeah. I mean, it really, so they gave it away big time in this episode where the title card says Bud's apartment, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this episode, they were giving away all this stuff that we already knew. Like maybe if you have not been paying attention to, like you were reading a book while you were watching this show, or you were like, I don't know, fell asleep in every episode, maybe you wouldn't know these things. But I felt like every big, like, oh my God, Bud's apartment. Is he actually a different person? I mean, I guess you could have believed up until now that it was a different time. I don't know.
Timeline.
Yeah. And that it wasn't actually first, right? Or that it was his twin brother, or that it was, we discussed that. Could they have been twins, right? We discussed that. I mean, you can see how he's going to shit, but like they give away on the title card that it's his apartment, and then there's a big giveaway in the cabin. I'm showing this picture. There's this big giveaway in the cabin where at the end of the episode, almost the end of the episode, where Alice says, "Mommy, that's not me on the tape. I don't speak Swedish."
Yeah,
and. I mean, most of us have caught on.
We already caught on to that.
We've known that for a long time, that it wasn't that there are two Alices, ever since she saw two Alices. And the Swedish thing was sort of alluded to, that was like hinted. It was pretty obvious, right? Like, is there anybody who was really surprised at that big reveal at the end of the episode?
I don't think so. And I think they've written this very well. Because they've given us clues. They haven't been really that they haven't been extremely hidden. But there have been clues, and I think they figure by this episode, if we haven't figured them out by now, they're just going to give it to us. So I think the way it's been structured and written was done really well, because there's no reason for this, secrecy or illusion anymore, because you know what it is. How we talk about a lot of shows that treat us like we're stupid, and it annoys the hell out of us with lots of exposition and other things that shows do. This show is not doing that to us. This show is treating us like, okay, our audience is smart enough to have already figured this out. It is now time in the process for it to just be a thing and not be like, ooh, isn't. But I think they've done a really good job of that.
Well, you have faith in them, because the flip side of that coin is it just bad and they didn't have enough mystery really I mean, I'm not saying I believe that, but that's the other argument, right?
Right.
Did their mystery run out of gas in episode 5?
This was 5?
It was episode 5. I mean, remember how the mystery sort of went off the rails in The Changeling, and it was so good for 4 episodes, and then it went to Crazy Town. So it could be that they've run out of steam, or I wrote in the description for tonight's show, which mystery is more compelling, this one or the cover-up from 1967, and that seems to be heating up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
I think. What else do I have here? Oh, here's little Alice.
One thing. Last week we talked about how I thought it was the other Magnus and Alice from the other reality going to the cabin because Joe was dead. But now, seeing that he's alive, I'm thinking that he tracks them down and takes Alice, and they go to the cabin themselves. I feel like that is in the same, we'll call it our prime timeline.
Oh, I disagree.
You disagree? You still think it's the
other Magnus and Alice. And part of the reason I think it is because of this final shot with this little Alice with the hat on, and she's out screaming, "Mummy, mummy." Because do you remember in episode 1 or 2 or maybe 1 where Joe is seeing the two Alices and she hears the screaming out in the and she goes out to see. I think alternate Alice is like that Prime Joe hears alternate Alice, who's her real Alice, right? Prime Joe hears her real Alice. Right. Like Prime Joe wound up in this wrong universe, right?
Yeah.
And
you know what the funny thing is? That other Alice says, "Mommy, where have you been?" Or "What took you so long?" Or something like that. And meanwhile, we've seen her funeral. So
yeah, but maybe she's been seeing things like both out, right? Like,
so that's true. Maybe that Alice has been seeing both sides of things too. So yeah, it's possible.
I feel like other Magnus and other Alice like still went to the cabin, and then Alice pulls a Carl and sneaks out of the house in the middle of like every kid on television sneaks out of the house and like goes looking for her mother, and that's who's screaming. But the thing is, like, I don't know if Joe can hold on to them both, right? Like if she goes to her Alice, then does she have to obey? Like she can't see them both. Like if you look at one, the other one is not there, right?
Right.
Because it's
yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, she makes it back to her side.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what this show is, so
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
I don't know. But yeah, the 1967 like cover up and all that is, I think that's coming. Like, you know how Joe sends her crewmate to go look into his own medication and to check the medical files on all these missing astronauts, and they've been removed from the library. And then Irina comes and like questions him, right? Like she's been covering up all of this since 1967, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yes. Yeah, she definitely knows what's going on.
Yeah. Like that. So, like, I kind of feel like all of this, like, observer effect, quantum entanglement, alternate universes, like, that's all been sort of, like, given away in these last couple episodes. Like, and I said, well, maybe it's just bad, but it's not. Like, maybe it's not the primary mystery, and the primary mystery is like bigger and about like Bud and what happened on his trip and what happened on Irina's trip, and all of this mystery with Joe is just the entree to her discovering this like much bigger thing, maybe.
Well, and that's and that's the other thing. I've always suspected that Irina is the one on the other side that is the dead cosmonaut.
Yes. Yes, I think so.
And I think that's why she's been so adamant this whole time about it's space garbage, and she was so against everything, and basically like, Joe, shut up, because she knows that her counterpart is the dead cosmonaut. Like, I think she knows that.
She knows that she died. Maybe she switched. Like I really.
Maybe she switched too. Yeah.
Right, like Bud and Henry switched, and Bud is pissed, like because Bud got. Whatever happened up there on the space station, and whatever the consequences were when Bud landed, his life is shitty. He's a drunk, like, right? And meanwhile, Henry is like still a respected member of the space community and a scientist and everything. Bud's pissed. I think Bud wants his life back. Although I don't think he could function. I don't think he could come over, kill Henry, take over his life, and nobody notice. Right?
No. Somebody says to me, Henry, you seem different.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not going to get away with that at all. So I mean, I say this every week. I mostly have faith in Apple. Like, maybe it'll run out of steam, maybe it won't. This was episode 5. How many are there? 6? Is there only one left?
No, I think there's at least
8. It's 8. All right.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 8.
All right. Great. I think it's 8. I'm going to look it up real quick, but
I was already doing.
I think it can't be 6. There's no way it can end next week.
No, there's no way it's next week.
Constellation. It is. Yeah, it's 8 episodes.
Yeah, I figured.
Yep. I do think like the acting is good. Like Nomi Rapace
Oh yeah.
and like, Jonathan Banks together are, there. No, it's 6 episodes. It's 6 episodes.
What?
No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. 6 episodes titles have been released. 6 have been released. It's 8. Next week is called Paul is Dead. And then there's 2 more. It's definitely 8 episodes. It is 100% 8 episodes. Shut me up. Don't let me talk.
All right. So anything else with this? Or
No, we're good. You want to hit some Resident Alien?
Sure.
All right. This episode is the one where Harry he falls in love with Heather, the new space alien on the scene.
Yes, and you either read something and it stuck in your mind, or you're a good guesser that her name was Heather, because you said that last week and I wasn't hearing that at all.
I must have seen something somewhere, like a character synopsis or something, that mentioned that her name was Heather. Rhymes with feather is her name. We saw more about the portal that she came through, and she quickly assumes human form so that we can have a normal character on our screens. That's her.
She can't go walking around patients as a blue avian. So.
No, she can't. She can't. And she's not like Harry that people, Harry, like, people just can't. Well, he takes a human, he looks like an alien to some people, and he looks like a human to some people, right?
Yeah, to Max.
Yeah.
To Max.
Well, and the vampire hunter could see him. Vampire hunter,
Well,
alien.
he was, yeah. Well, Peter was like Max.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that storyline was kind of cute, I thought. Like Harry being all kind of doofy and, broadly comedic every time he's around her.
Yeah, I thought that was really great, seeing him struggle with falling in love.
Yeah, I mean, the voiceover so often is about love and humans loving each other. He loves Asta as a friend. He learned, he's learning like so much about him, learn about love, but he hasn't really experienced that kind of love. So, and it was kind of flip flopped. It was pretty funny when he's like examining. They were all, so SciFi makes like 40 photographs available for every episode. And like a bunch of them were photos of like, well, they're screen grabs, so they don't fit nicely on our screen, but pictures of Harry smelling Heather's hair, pictures of Harry. That was so creepy. I mean,
Asta comes in and she's like, can I talk to you?
He like doesn't know what a creep he's being. And there were pictures of him like going weak in the knees and falling on the ground when he's near her.
Oh, my knees. Yeah. He did that 3 or 4 times in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, my knees.
Mm-hmm.
My absolute favorite though was when he was writing the poem, and the end of it, you are the light in the blackout. I want to touch you where the eggs pop out. I lost it. I was like, and poor Damon is sitting here cringing. He's like, that was terrible. Like, it wasn't supposed to be good.
I also really enjoyed the scene where Heather calls up and says, "What's this thing in my stomach?" And Harry's like,
"Oh God,
this is so disgusting. Humans grow babies inside their bodies." They're both like, "Ah!" So
she's like, "And that's where the baby comes out." And he goes, "No, it's much worse."
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I want to see them have a sex scene as humans.
Yeah, I mean, the best we got was this.
Yeah, I mean, they were making out as their alien forms, but I want to see them try and have sex as humans, because I think that would be hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I think that Harry has had sex, though, right? Remember when his, like, real human Harry's real...
Oh, yes.
Showed up, right? Didn't they have
but
sex?
Tell me how funny would that be if they're in their human forms and he's, like, explaining it to her?
Yeah.
How it works.
and how it, that would be kind of hilarious. It was nicely kind of it was nicely kind of flipped with like what the dynamic duo was up to in this episode also, right? Like Darcy has like all these complex feelings, like, okay, so I did love the part also where Darcy throws the banana into the portal and breaks it. So Heather is trapped, right? That worked kind of well. But also, you know, she's going through this thing where she like, her life is like so messed up. She like tanked her whole life. And now she's involved in the fight to save the planet. And she's like really proud of herself and she can't tell anyone about it, right? That she's doing this one good thing with her life and everybody thinks she's a loser and she can't say anything. And also like, you know, her, you know, just as Harry gets a girlfriend, Darcy's like really like realizing what she gave up when she blew it with Elliot. Who has a super cute girlfriend now. I mean, I think obviously.
Yeah, seeing Darcy have some more growth is great, and yeah, and seeing I knew as soon as I walked out, I was like, that's gonna be Elliot's girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if maybe he and Darcy like are destined to be together again before this show ends, or maybe not. But yeah, she was definitely going to be. I was like, are they going to like make it like it's his sister? But no, she's definitely his girlfriend. And she's a way more appropriate girlfriend than. Although I'm just looking at this picture right now, and I wish they would have put a little piece of tape in her blouse there. But sorry, costume people, that I criticized you not taping her blouse. I mean, I don't know. Like Darcy is a pretty dysfunctional. I don't know. There's somebody out there for Darcy, right? We'll find him. He just might not be Elliot yet.
Yeah. Why does she need tape on her blouse?
Can you see the gap between the two buttons where you can look in between her shirt there?
I do now that you've pointed it out, but I did not notice it.
I'm like, oh my God, a little piece of like wardrobe tape would put that right up. In fact, I just bought a blouse that has a hidden snap right there, so that can't happen to me.
So I really like the party scene. I like, you know, that Jay's starting to learn more about her heritage and everything. I think that was pretty great.
I was disappointed that there were no photographs available of that scene.
Oh, really?
The party. Yeah, I'm surprised there were no pictures from the party at the reservation available on the press site for me to share, because you're right. That was a really great scene. There was a lot to. I always enjoy the scenes on the reservation, actually. But I mean, interesting though
that, you know, couldn't just be a simple B storyline. No, it had to fall into the A storyline with there's a van on the reservation.
Yeah, you're right. It couldn't just be like Asta connecting with her daughter and like, you know, Jay meeting her family and this nice thing. It leads to Asta learning about the van, being there and to no real purpose necessarily, because by the end of the episode, sheriff and deputy find it anyway.
Well, they already knew where the van was, remember?
Well, I guess when I say it, I mean they find the book anyway, right? They find the mystery.
Yeah.
They find the evidence they're looking for. They were looking for fingerprints, but they found something even better. So by the time Asta relays this information and her gang gets themselves together, they're going to be a little bit behind. Actually, a lot, like Deputy and Sheriff had a pretty productive episode, huh?
Yeah, they did. Yep. Thanks to her, what did he call it? Thanks to her instinct, he solved everything.
I followed your instincts to solve your instincts to solve the mystery or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love the look that Liv gives him all the time.
I know, she's so long suffering there. I mean, they had a big productive episode. They did get. I mean, I was going to say they got the scientist killed. I guess they didn't get her killed, but they were too late to save.
They had
They were too late to save her.
That they were being bugged. So.
Which that was a little bit of a like red herring, except that it shows that that Joseph is still like still like on the scene, and he's outed now, I guess, to sheriff, and just keep calling them sheriff and deputy. He's outed now as like not the great deputy that he pretended to be. So I mean that was a pretty big, this episode was kind of crazy because when they find the journal, I was like, oh my God, that's such a huge ending. And then the ending gets huger.
Yeah, well, I had a feeling he was still alive. There was
Why?
Just
because
I don't little things here and there. I just felt like we see him shot, we see the quote unquote death scene, but we never really, they kind of glossed over it, I felt like. And then when the major was talking about the machine and everything, and then as soon as we see it, and bad Mulder was like, nope, I ain't getting in there. I was like, it's for Peter, and she's like, it's not for you, it's for him.
For Peter, yeah. I mean, I guess another indication was that Terry O'Quinn was sort of criminally not underused, but he was not in it. He had a small role, right? He exited quickly when he was killed or not killed. Are they really going to put him in a RoboCop suit? That's kind of amazing.
I think I think it's going to be pretty fun. I think it's going to be fun.
I mean, no, I just think it's kind of amazing. Like, I think Terry O'Quinn is the greatest actor to be game for that. At this I mean, I haven't seen him do a ton of comedy. I think it's great. I can't wait to see Terry O'Quinn wearing a RoboCop suit or a robo alien hunter suit or whatever it's going to be. Yeah. And I'm not sure why he needs it. He appears in the shot to be unconscious. Is he paralyzed? Is that why he needs the suit? Like that? I'm really.
I think it. I mean, yeah, I think we'll find out. I think he could be paralyzed. I mean, he's hooked up to a lot of wires there to keep him going. So.
Yeah, he is.
I think the suit might act as something to keep him going.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love that Linda Hamilton is being utilized more this season, and that scene when she goes to find Bad Mulder, and he goes, "What if I say no?" She goes, "I don't know. Let's find out."
Yeah, I didn't expect to see the Bad Mulder again, right?
Yeah, I didn't either. So I was very happy when I saw him.
Yeah, I liked him. Poor guy doing his yoga, and then she shows up there.
Talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah, right. Like you're doing your yoga, and then there she comes with her big black boot showing up. I was a little so yes, I'm glad to see her also and I'm looking forward to seeing these two great actors who I love play some more scenes together, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't really
they didn't really do much before. It was kind of hectic.
Yeah.
The first time around.
Yeah, they didn't really do a lot there.
And then we have one more storyline.
We do.
Yes, Kate and Ben.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I even have a picture. So I did not. They didn't make. They didn't make.
Or the Killer Owls.
They. This is the only picture that I could get.
Oh, that's you know what, that scene says it all.
Yeah.
I love how Max brings it up, and Ben's like, "We really should talk about this." Max, go ahead. And he's like, "Whoa!"
He's like, "Wait, why do I have to be the one to talk about this?" Yeah, that was. I mean, Kate is really like losing it. Kate is really.
But you know what though? She's not really losing it so much as her memory's coming back. There's just she's starting to realize things.
She is, but she's also like getting very. I mean, she's losing touch a little bit, right? Like that book is like, she keeps saying like, oh, it's such a sweet little children's book. And it's about, what's wrong with it? There's nothing upsetting about this.
But it's a mama feeding her babies.
Yeah. It's a mama feeding her babies. Like, wait, what?
He goes, there's worms coming out of the mouth. She goes, those are entrails.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, hello, what? She really like had no concept of how crazy she is, right?
No cute baby elephants in sailor hats.
Yeah. She
So I learned something new though. I don't think I thought I would ever utter this after watching Resident Alien. But I learned something. I had no idea that owls and alien abduction were like a real thing in the world that people connect the two somehow.
Oh my God. I Googled it too. After this episode, I Googled it.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I Googled it and I was like, wow, it's real.
I was like, I wonder if that's a real thing. I should check that out. And it was a real thing that people are really see them. It's a little bit out of the mainstream of alien abduction stories, but it's real.
Works great for this show though.
It really does. I think it fits in great, especially with them being like, living in this very kind of bucolic place in the mountains where owls are going to be around, right?
Yeah. Well, especially with the Native American presence also who have a very close connection with owls too. So that's what made that's what made the one scene so great at the diner when they were like, ooh, owl, ooh, we want to stay away from you now.
Yeah, like all the native people are like, oh, owls are, that's that's a little, I looked that up also. I'm learning about alien abduction. So before we wrap this up, I didn't have a photograph, but remember the scene where Harry goes to work and he's with General McAllister and all the other generals are sitting around the big conference table? Did you recognize
about love?
Yeah,
and he's asking them about love.
Yeah, but did you recognize the general seated right at Harry's left hand who had a little bit of small speaking going on there?
I guess I wasn't paying enough attention to him to notice.
It was Aaron Douglas, who you probably recognize most from Battlestar Galactica. He played the chief who worked on the flight deck. Yeah. He also had a big role in The Killing and has been in like a million other things. But I was like, who is that guy? Who is that guy? And I had to look him up because you remember how much I hated Battlestar Galactica. I probably have blocked it out of my mind. I hated that show from start to finish. This will probably get a lot of we have no comments in the chat tonight, and probably people are going to start commenting.
Yeah, I was going to say, when the show started, where the hell's Art?
I don't know. We got some viewers out there, but we only had one spammer in the comments tonight. The regulars would probably be yelling at me about how I hated Battlestar Galactica. But anyway, we're getting pretty. This is getting.
One of the other NGB media hosts might have something to say about that.
I know, right? Getting a little. I should like those shows. Anyway, I really, I want to see more of the Kate storyline. I think. I mean, I know we're going to, right? It's not like I have to ask, please, more of it. That definitely is a slow brewing kind of thing going on there. And I think she's kind of losing her shit a little bit.
I'll be happy once I mean, I don't even know what episode is this. 4, 3, 3. It's only episode 3.
Yeah.
Or was it 4? Yeah, this is 4.
This was 4, yeah, avian flu. Yeah, it was
and this
4.
is and you said this is what, like 13 episodes?
I think so.
We got
Yeah.
ways to go still. Yeah, I'll be happy. You know, it's like it's funny because like I want Liv to be vindicated, but I kind of like them bumbling, the two of them bumbling around, and her being a believer and Mike being like, this is ludicrous. So I can't wait for that moment when it's revealed. But I want it to last a little while because I don't want everybody to be in on it. But I kind of can't wait for Kate and Ben to be in on it, you know, or at least knowledge of something.
Well, I'm
maybe
kind
not
of
the whole story, but
I'm kind of waiting for Kate to go to therapy, and Harry's the only therapist in town. He's not even a real therapist, right? I mean, he's a medical doctor, not a psychiatrist. But he's the only person for therapy, and she would maybe show up to him, and then he would get some more information out of her. Or alternatively, I mean, now that the alien hunter's alive, could he come back to town and talk to her? But not in that robot suit. He can't.
Well, that'd be kind of interesting. But like, yeah, the same thing happened to my wife. Your baby was taken from you.
Yeah, your baby was abducted, like right out of your body. Yeah. Like, I feel like they have to run into each other. I don't know. It's just getting real good now. So we'll see. All right. We got one more show tonight, AJ. To talk about. Shogun.
Really good episode.
It was a really good episode. I watched it as soon as it aired, and then I rewatched it yesterday because it was so long ago. I wanted to just like check in again before we talk tonight, you know. This was a really good episode. We had this really like exciting, kind of slow, and I mean, I like that the escape from Osaka was like kind of slow and just walking, and yet so dramatic, like trying to get through that gate. I do not like to compare this show to Game of Thrones, but it kind of reminded me of people trying to get through that gate all the time, right? Like that was a brilliantly planned escape. I thought that whole sequence was great. I don't know. What'd you think?
Well, and that's the thing too. Like it's I mean, the majority of it, it's very political, very much a chess match, which is great. I mean, you and I love stuff like that. But I like how it goes from that chess match, and all of a sudden, there's a 10-minute battle. So I thought that was pretty great.
Oh yeah, when they get ambushed, ambushed.
When they got they got ambushed, and then it's so funny as people start to realize that Toranaga was in the the carrier the whole time. Like when he gets out and his son is like, "Dad," like even his son didn't know. And then I always the other guy who's kind of playing both sides of things. He's like, the next time you're gonna, what do you say? The next time you're gonna do something like this, can you tell me first? Oh, Karen, you got.
Sorry, I got muted. Yeah. So
I saw that. I was like,
yeah, they were escaping in that kind of thing. I forget what that thing is called. It's not like a litter, but it's kind of like a litter in the background, right?
Yeah.
And so they were escaping in that. That guy in front is that's him, the nephew, right?
I don't know who that is in the front there. Actually, that might be isn't that
that's the husband. That's the husband.
What you call its husband? Yeah.
Yeah. So the nephew's name is Yabushige, right? The treacherous nephew, actually like working with the rival like lords. And then Ashido, right? And then Mariko's husband is named. That's the husband, and his name is. I'll find his name in a second. I'm scrolling. I'm looking at the website of the show, and I'm looking at the names of all the characters. They have a really good website for the show. The treacher. So,
we'll just call him Mariko's husband.
Buntaro. The husband is named Buntaro. He's a terrible husband who's really mean to his wife. I think she doesn't love him. She was probably like arranged into marriage with him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He's not, you know what though? It turns out he's not as bad as the guy as we thought he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not great with her and his kid, but very honorable death for him.
Yeah, I mean, but he's all about the job, I guess, right?
Yeah. And
I'm looking up the nephew. I still can't find I got the wrong name of the character.
It's funny too. Like you think Mariko, it's like she's up. You can tell she's a little upset that he just ran off to his death to protect them and everything. But she's been making googly eyes at the Anjin this whole time. So.
Well, I mean, their romance was like the main part of the book, really, right? I mean, I have not read that book, but it was a big part of the story. Yeah. Yeah. So they have like diminished that a little bit for this show, apparently. It's a little less or a lot less part of this show. Which is because they focused more on the Japanese perspective. I think more on the Japanese perspective than the perspective of the white man. Like,
Yeah, which is fine. I don't mind at all. I prefer the Japanese perspective.
I do too. I mean, that book came out in like 1980 or whatever. It was a product of its time. I hear it's pretty good and still holds up. But obviously they're going to update this show a little bit, and a lot of Japanese, like a lot of care was taken to make this show really reflect, really authentic, yeah, and to really reflect like authenticity of what went on, what that period was like. So yeah, I have a little picture of the fight that happens in the woods when they get ambushed. These are not great photographs that were available on the press site, but that was kind of actually that comes after all the drama in the harbor, which I thought was really great also, right? Like that whole negotiation to get on a ship, to get on the Portuguese ship, and then like engine like piloting the other like that was pretty fun.
I love the banter between Rodriguez and him.
Oh yeah.
He's like he's still alive, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was really I mean, he's got this like great kind of grudging admiration going on, right?
Yeah.
That he can't help but admire what Inglés is doing. I really that was I mean, so Blackthorn is doing that to survive, because I think he's been left behind. Gets left behind in Osaka, he'll definitely get killed, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's too many people who want to kill him, so he definitely can't get left behind. He's got to get out of there. So that was that about. But he's also very like, it's funny because like he doesn't always act like a guy who's so savvy and so good at reading people and situations, but he is, right? Like he reads Toranaga, he reads the situation. We have to remember that he can't understand one word of what's going on around him, and he immediately like sizes up what's going on and sees what he's got to do and does it. Like that whole bit where he sees that he catches on that Toranaga's in the litter and he starts screaming about like
he saw him get in.
He did, but like nobody else did, right? Just him and Mariko saw it.
Yeah.
he's observant, and then he sizes it up and he acts right away.
Yeah.
He's really very good at all this stuff. And he's rewarded, but he's probably in trouble, right? Like, it was in last week's episode, I think, where he got a new title, which I think is Hatamoto. He basically gets the title that usually is like given to a samurai, right? He's got this very high, I don't know, kind of high like title now. He maybe is in more danger than like, I don't know. This is a place where everyone's in danger, right? Like Toranaga's motto is like, you got nobody but yourself in this life. Right? He's like, he even says to his son, he's like, you think you're playing friend against enemy, and like basically you have nobody, like, right? So I mean, Blackthorn probably is gonna learn that, I guess. There's one thing that I don't really know what's going on. They keep, we keep seeing, I think her name is Lady Kiri.
Lady Kiri.
Lady Kiri, right? Like, she, in that, earlier on in the season, I might have said, like, that scene where Toranaga, like, sentences her husband and baby to die, seemed to be about establishing the like world building and establishing like Toranaga's like adherence to certain rules and the culture of honor and things like that. But now I feel like, I don't know, is there a storyline here of her like trying to get revenge or something? I don't know. Like, is that her father or her grandfather is the right hand of Toranaga, right?
That is her father-in-law.
Oh, it's her father-in-law. Father-in-law. His name is Hiromatsu. I think her name is Fuji, not Kiri, right? Her name is
Kiri's her mother.
Yeah. Hiromatsu is married to Lady Kiri.
Okay, so then that's
right?
her grandparents. It's either her grandparents or her.
No. Kiri is Toranaga's wife. I'm sorry, Kiri's Toranaga's wife. I forget who is. I don't know if he even.
Kiri got. I'm
Fuji. Fuji is the girl whose husband and baby were killed. She's Hiromatsu's granddaughter.
Right.
I feel like she.
Granddaughter. Okay.
I feel like she might be looking to like get some revenge going on.
I think so.
Now, she's there just to kind of look sad all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. I kind of wonder sometimes, I guess
that's also a great scene when Hiromatsu goes into the temple during the meeting, and he's like, Toranaga's resigning, so you can't take a vote now.
That was amazing. Like, that was a great scene. How Toranaga outflanked those guys, right? They can't impeach him. They can't impeach him if he quits. He loses. They can't vote him out of his job if he resigns from his job. Of course, impeachment was going to come with death, right?
Right.
Like, impeachment wasn't just like impeaching the U.S. president.
Isho says he's like, we can still impeach him anyway, but he's like, but you need 5 people to vote and you only have 4. So basically they need to replace Toranaga in the council in order to have a vote to impeach Toranaga.
Yeah, and I don't even know how they could even replace him because they were all appointed by the.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I mean, he wasn't the emperor. He wasn't even the shogun, but whatever that guy, the guy who was the father of the heir, like he appointed all of them, right? I don't know if there's a process for how like it might take them a long time to figure out how they're going to find another person to fill that role. It was brilliant, and even if they do it, like he's safe now in his own kingdom, right? Yeah. He's gone to his own kingdom to where he's got his own fiefdom, whatever it's called, his own territory, where he has his own people and his own army, or he's headed there, right? And so they can try to kill him, but they can't get to him as easily as when he was being held prisoner, fake prisoner in Osaka, right?
Yeah.
So that was a really, that's what I love. That's why we're watching the show, for the political intrigue and less for the battles and the fights, right?
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I like, you can jump right into it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like even not a lot of action, but even the boat sequence was intense as hell.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we know Blackthorn's going to continue to be a character, so he clearly can't get left behind. But that scene between him and Rodriguez, when trying to steer him into the rocks, and at the last second he just like has so much admiration for him. He's like, he beat me. I couldn't do anything. Sorry.
Yeah. And I liked how they shot it, because so much of it was close-ups of Blackthorn and Rodriguez, like of Blackthorn like steering the ship and yelling at the guys rowing, and then you see them. But like you saw shots of the ships, but like that scene didn't rely on big, expensive shots of ships in the harbor and water and night shoot or whatever, however they did that, right?
Yeah. And I love when they make it through and Blackthorn's going nuts and he's stomping on the floor, and all the rowers are like, what the hell is he saying? They're like, why is he stomping? We went. Made it already.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Tornaga's like, oh, well, since my ship made it through after all, I'll just go back to my own ship. Thank you very much.
That was a great twist.
Yeah.
That was brilliant on his part, considering everything that he had promised them. Now he's like, Yeah. Especially since all the Christians, the priests and everything, they're totally against him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, they're against him anyway.
Roger said, good stuff and funny.
Yeah. So, do you think Buntaro is really dead, Mariko's husband? Like, it's a rule in TV. If you don't see a body, is the person dead?
True. He should be.
Yeah.
The only way, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him brought before Ishido. But I gotta believe. I mean, there was too many of them. There's no way. I feel like they just killed him, and I don't see any reason where taking him prisoner would do anything for them.
No, I'm thinking like his death clears the way for Blackthorn and Mariko to like have a romance, and then on certain shows. Like if this was General Hospital, he would definitely be alive and show up on the day they get married, right?
This is definitely not General Hospital.
Like right when they say "Speak now, or forever hold your peace," Buntaro would bust in and be like, "I'm alive."
No, this is not that show.
It's not General Hospital, I know, and I'm not sure if James Michener would write that into his book, right?
I don't.
Like there are plenty of obstacles to these two getting together. I think beyond her having a husband. Like even if she had no husband, there would be like many obstacles to them being together. Like did you catch in last week's episode when he dresses her as Mariko and she says, "You can call me," I forget what she says. There's a Japanese honorific that she puts before her name.
Yes.
Basically like saying Madam Mariko or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she corrected him and put him in his place. She really, I mean, they do consider him a bit of a, I mean, everybody calls him barbarian when he's not around. There was that scene where the doctor is bleeding him and he keeps calling the doctor a warlock. Like, I know it's funny to me how he calls him a warlock. They call him a barbarian. Everybody thinks everybody else is like, kind of beneath them, but that was a funny scene, and he kind of really is like he doesn't.
And then he's like, he's not a warlock, he's a pimp.
yeah, and like there's this like that was a moment of like a more enlightened Japanese attitude towards sex, I think, than maybe Blackthorn has. I mean, because he considers, like, he talks about being a pimp, and he mentions, like, I think he says trollops are all over. I don't know if he says whores. He says trollops.
He says harlots and trollops are all over the place.
Harlots and trollops. Whereas in this culture, there are women who are professional sex workers who are like really highly regarded as having a talent and an art, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like and Marcos, as a matter of fact, like, oh, would you prefer we send you a man? And he's like, what buggery? Like,
yeah.
You know, like I don't know. I just love these scenes where he, you know, he's very like I didn't see the original Shogun. I don't know what that was like, but it's certainly flipping the script on a lot of other shows that we've seen where the Western character is the one who is the enlightened one and the Eastern people are the savages, right? And
the original Shogun, while very similar, was definitely more about Blackthorn than the Japanese culture, which went against the book, because the book is definitely more about the Japanese culture.
Yeah, my understanding is that Mishner like really did a lot of research and really tried to get it right when he wrote that book, and that's why it holds up a little bit or a lot. I don't know. I haven't read it.
I mean, it's a really excellent piece of historical fiction.
Yeah. And then, you know, the miniseries being a product of the early 1982, like, you know, of course it's going to focus on whatever it, you know, I mean, the taste of audiences at the time. Yeah. Not that there weren't shows that were educating us all back then, but anyway, I love those scenes where Blackthorn is like, you people, he's a warlock. What does he know? Trollops, you know, what's it to be a woman? And the Japanese are like, this guy hasn't taken a bath in a week. He he doesn't understand like about sex being, you know, we believe you need sex to, like, you know, Japanese, this culture, this level of Japanese culture, aristocracy definitely had what we would consider, you know, their attitudes are more in common with what we've got now. Anyway, I love those scenes where he's like not the, you know, although he's gaining respect because of. So there's this big thing. There's this big thing that happens in this episode where that part where Toranaga is like, okay, you need to teach us everything about how like you run this ship and all your war tactics and your fighting tactics. Remember that? And Blackthorn.
Well, that's when he gives him the title.
Yeah, and Blackthorn is like, I don't know anything about anything, and he's like, oh no, wait a minute, it would be an honor, right? I guess he senses, he knows that he's got to stay useful to Toranaga. As soon as he's not useful to Toranaga, he's like doomed, right? Yeah. But I'd like to see where that goes, since he doesn't know anything about anything, right?
Well, he is also playing coy. Like, he's not going to come out and admit that he still isn't going to admit that he's a pirate, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So he definitely, he knows more than he lets on. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Oh, so you're thinking like when he tells her, oh, but I don't know anything, he's like kind of lying to her because she's going to
playing coy. And then he realizes, you know what? Tell him to be not. All of a sudden, he very quickly realizes, you know what? They know. So I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, and what other use are you sitting around here if you're not like teaching Toranaga, helping Toranaga to like fight his enemies?
Oh, and I love the swimming scene. Diving.
Yeah, there were no photos of that either. There's not like a lot of pics available. That was a fun scene too, where he.
How many times do I have to do this? She's like, until he's satisfied.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, don't let him win. He hates that.
Which I don't think Blackthorn would have let him win anyway. Blackthorn does not seem like the type to throw a race.
Yeah, no, not at all. He seems to be picking up a little bit of Japanese. Like I feel like this show might get more. We might have more almost entirely in Japanese before we get to the end of the season.
Well, he's definitely picking things. I mean, he's picked up a couple things. He's also been told, he's specifically asked certain things.
Yeah.
He realizes, it's a sign of respect to say certain things in their language.
To learn, yeah.
So he's learned thank you and a couple other generalized phrases.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well,
I gotta say, he pronounces it really well pretty quickly too.
Right? Doesn't he? He really does. He's got an excellent accent when he speaks. So yeah, I'm really liking this. So this.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot too.
This definitely is a one and done season.
Oh yeah, no, that's confirmed. It covers the whole.
It covers the whole book, and that's it. And I don't see any appetite to like go off book or any reason to, right? Like do an excellent epic miniseries and then like move on.
Yep.
To another one, yeah. I don't know if you keep up the production values on a thing like this for multiple.
Yeah, no. So something I wanted to mention to you that I thought you'd get a kick out of. I know Avatar probably isn't your cup of tea, but I'm sure Daniel Day Kim plays the big villain in Avatar: The Last Airbender live action that's on Netflix.
I did not know that.
Oh, okay. Now you do. So yeah, Daniel Day Kim is the big bad, and I guess he was in a meeting with the writers and everybody. They were waiting to hear if they were going to get renewed for a season 2, and he comes in to let the rest of the cast and crew know what the decision was. And he comes in, he's like, unfortunately, they do not want to renew us for season 2. And everybody got really somber. And he's like, but that's because they want to renew us for seasons 2 and 3 right now.
Oh yeah! Oh, what fun!
Yeah, so Daniel Day Kim had a little fun with the cast, which is very exciting for me because that's 3 seasons is what the show needed.
Oh yeah, you have played that game or watched that movie or whatever it is.
I watched the series. It's really good. Like the animated show didn't need to be made into live action, but there's been lots of complaints, as there always is when something goes from animation to live action. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. The boys did too. Artie and I both thought that it was really great. Some of the acting at times is a little questionable. I mean, they're young actors, so it's going to happen. But I thought it was pretty great, and I liked. And the creator of it this whole time has said, "Listen, it's not. They're not doing a scene for scene live action from the animation because there's no need for it." He calls it a remix because all the main key important elements are there, but he's kind of done some new things and switched some things up, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So, for someone like me, I don't know anything about it. I don't know what it's about. I've never seen any of it. I think there was a movie with a bald little boy in it.
That was the M. Night Shyamalan disaster.
Is there any reason someone like me should take the show up this late in the franchise, or are we just not the target?
You're probably not the target. I mean, had I never seen the animated series, I might have been curious about it. But
all right. Oh, I hear your dog barking there. All right. Good advice. I got other things I want to watch. I'm thinking about Invincible, maybe.
All right. So I love Invincible. Is amazing. It's another Robert Kirkman comic. However,
very violent.
However, I don't know that you'd like it.
Really?
It is very graphic and violent.
Yeah,
how you feel about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, how I feel about gratuitous violence, right? Like, there's violence that makes sense. Sometimes. There's a lot of violence.
It's yeah. I mean, let's put it this way. if you're interested in it, watch the first episode. You'll know by the end of the episode whether or not it's something you want to continue.
Yeah. Well, I think that my aversion to violence it is particularly based on like the whole genre, the whole industry of entertainment based on violence against women and children, right? Like murder.
Well, yeah, it's not that. It's not that specifically, but it's very.
It's very violent, graphically violent, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I might get. It's supposed to be excellent, but
it really is. I mean,
one episode and
see. The storyline really. That's what I'm saying. Watch the first episode, and then there's a post-credit scene, and if you can make it through the post-credit scene, you'll be okay.
Okay. Roger, I'm very surprised that I have aversion to violence. Total Recall. Yeah, Roger, I don't read any mystery novels because I feel like that's an entire genre of publishing that every one of them is about violence and murder and mutilation of women and children. And Special Victims Unit is a whole show that's been on the air for a million years that's largely not all, maybe they are not the worst offender, but I feel like so much of entertainment, all serial killer shows and just so much of entertainment is violence against women and children. And I just don't want to be a part of some of it. And certain shows, when it makes sense that look, I'm not against a woman ever being murdered in a show, right? I just told you earlier that I really wish that Jadis would get murdered on Walking Dead by Rick.
You just don't like it. You just don't like excessive.
Yeah, or gratuitous, or but and I don't mind Godzilla wiping out 30,000 people with atomic breath either. I'm not anti-violence. I'm just in certain situations.
Yes.
So, well, I think that anything else, AJ? I think that might be bringing us to a close tonight.
I think that wraps us up.
All right. I think we're back next week with the same 4 shows. Nothing new is on. Star Trek will not be back yet.
No, not yet.
We got a long way to go for Interview with the Vampire. There's nothing new coming, but these 4 shows are still in rotation. So we're going to have we'll have the same 4.
Yep.
April 4th is Star Trek. So that'll be our next new show to come online, I think.
Yeah. So about a month, 3 weeks.
So that gives us time for the 3 of these shows to move their way through the next few weeks. So same schedule next week.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bat hosts. Jamie should be feeling better and be back with us, right?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to Mr. Roger Noriega, who lets us play in this sandbox.
Yep. Owner of NDB Media. Thanks for bringing us into your network or keeping us in your network. Check out some of the other shows on NDB Media. There's some good stuff. There's Michael's doing interviewing he's been interviewing a lot of people from The Voice lately. If you're following that show, and they do a lot of Travel Itch and a lot of other cool stuff on the network.
Yes, they do.
All right. Bye.
All right. That is a wrap. Stick a fork in us. We're done.